In today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about steaks. I'll mention some of the most popular cuts, briefly mention their benefits and flavour profiles, and then I'll also demonstrate how to cook the perfect steak to your liking. I often get asked, Tom, how do you like your steak cooked? And I'll say I like it rare, I like it medium rare, I like it medium, I like it medium well. And they'll go, but I thought you're a chef. Don't they say that you always have to eat it rare? And I'll say, that all depends on the cut. Let me explain. If I was to have a nice bit of fillet, that is a really tender, lean piece of meat with very little fat running through it. So the flavour is very gentle, delicate beef flavour. I would cook that rare to medium rare. I think if you were to cook that any further, it would become tough and not very pleasant to eat, and you wouldn't be getting the full benefits of a fillet steak. Rump steaks like the ones I'm cooking today are generally a cheaper cut of the prime steaks, and they're also quite lean, not as lean as fillet, but leaner than sirloin or ribeye. But they do have a much deeper, richer flavour than fillet. And I would personally cook these anywhere from rare to medium, but you can even get away with these well done as well, because it's generally a juicier cut of meat. Sirloin steak tends to be richer in flavour yet again, and that's due to a good amount of marbling and fat running throughout. I love these to be cooked around medium rare to medium. And ribeye steaks tend to be the fattiest of these four cuts of meat. I believe they have the most flavour, and it's my personal favourite, and that is due to the amount of fat on it. The fat just adds a really rich, buttery flavour that I think you just can't beat. But personally, I do like to cook these to medium, and that's because of the amount of fat in it. It needs a bit more time cooking for the fat to render out and release all of that beautiful flavour. There are many other beautiful cuts of steak, including the nice thick tomahawk steaks with the bone still on, or T-bone steaks where it's a cross section of sirloin and fillet. And then you can get into the really rare steaks like the bavette or the skirt steak, where you only get 2 of those off a whole cow, which are honestly beautiful in flavour, and the grain in them is really unique. And the most unique steak that I've ever eaten is something called the spider steak, and that is usually a butcher's cut. General public generally don't get to see them, and they have just some beautiful fat running through, and the flavour is absolutely unbelievable. So do a little bit of research on them yourself, and if you can get hold of them, I definitely recommend trying them. Please do let me know your favourites in the comments, and I will be more than happy to try them out. We're going to get onto the cooking of the steak very shortly, but first I want to talk through a few important pointers, and one of them is the internal temperatures for each cook. I highly recommend that you pick up one of these little temperature probes. It's a surefire way to make sure that you get your steak exactly how you like it. I highly recommend using one of these. So I'll quickly mention the temperatures that you'll need to know, and this is the temperature that you want to take it out of the pan before resting. So for rare, you want to take it to 48 degrees Celsius, that's 118 degrees Fahrenheit. For medium rare, 52 degrees Celsius and 125 degrees Fahrenheit. For medium, 58 degrees Celsius, 136 degrees Fahrenheit. For medium well, 62 degrees Celsius and 143 degrees Fahrenheit. And then for well done, 68 degrees Celsius, and that's 154 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that's the temperature you want to get them to in the pan before you take them out to rest. While they're resting, the steak will just carry on cooking a little bit more and rise in temperature by another 2 to 3 degrees, resulting in the perfect cook when you come to eat it. If you don't have a temperature probe, here's a little technique that you can use just to guide you along the way while you're cooking your steak at home. If you take your hand and then you touch this fleshy part of the hand there, when it's nice and relaxed, that's how the steak should feel when it's cooked to rare. If you put your first finger to your thumb and touch it there, it'll be a little bit more tense. That'll be medium rare, then medium, medium well, and well done. And you'll feel there that the muscle is much more tense, and that is the feel you're looking for when you're cooking your steak. Obviously, it won't be as accurate as using a temperature probe, but it's a good little guideline to use. Before cooking your steak, I recommend that you just get some kitchen towel and dab your steaks so they're as dry as you can possibly get them. This will result in getting a nicer crust when we sear them in the pan. Next, you want to generously season them with sea salt. I don't like to put black pepper on before the cooking process, and I'll explain that a little bit later why. And then you'll need some olive oil, plenty diced cold butter, some garlic cloves that you've just crushed to break the skins, and some woody herbs. Something like thyme or rosemary are usually best. I'm going to be using thyme today. Next, place a heavy bottomed frying pan or a cast iron skillet over a high heat. And once the pan's smoking hot, drizzle in a little bit of olive oil. Using your tongs, hold your steak fat side down and allow that fat to crisp up and render down before you lay your steak into the pan. Don't be tempted to move it around at this point, leave it to get that nice sear on the surface, and then we're going to turn it over. At this stage we'll add in a little bit of butter, the garlic and the herbs. And then we'll keep turning the steak every 30 seconds until it reaches the internal temperature that you're looking for. Remembering to use the temperature probe throughout the cooking process to get it to the exact point you want. Throughout the cooking time, baste over some of that garlicky, herby butter, and that just helps develop the crust even more and flavour the steak as it's cooking. Once your steak has finished cooking in the pan, you need to take it out to rest it. And I like to do that either just on a plate, or you can place it onto a cooling rack over a tray. And that allows the resting juices to just drain away. A good rule of thumb when resting your steak is to rest it for half the amount of time you've cooked it. And that goes for any meat that you've cooked, but especially works well with steaks. And that gives it enough time for the meat to relax, and that will result in a steak that isn't chewy and is just nice and pleasant to eat. I like to season my steaks with black pepper once they are resting. You can season them before they go in the pan, but that way the black pepper can burn a little bit in the pan and scorch, and you'll end up with a bit more of a bitterness to the taste. Adding the black pepper at the end when it's resting allows the black pepper's flavour to come through properly, and you get a nice fresh burst of black pepper flavour when you're eating your steak. No matter how you like your steak cooked, you can't go too wrong by serving it with some chips, roasted vine tomatoes, and a little bit of peppercorn sauce. I hope you found this video useful and picked up a few tips along the way. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.